Okay. Hi everyone out there watching this video. It has taken me some time to come up with this because I realized that Coriolanus as a play um, was authored by William Shakespeare, and of course it's under tragedy, just like Hamlet. The play replaces in advanced level literature. Now the new syllabus will take effect in 2023. So I thought it wise that I'll present a video or a series of videos on paper 3 and especially Coriolanus, because I observed that advanced level literature presents a lot of, or I would say students find paper 3 very, very challenging. And so that's the reason that I thought I would come up with this. So our focus on this very first episode is on Coriolanus by William Shakespeare. So in this very first episode, we are going to dig deep down into history and try to find out where Shakespeare sourced his material from, where he got inspired, and what the name Coriolanus actually means. Well, some will say Coriolanus, but whether I call it Coriolanus or Coriolanus, just ensure that you spell it correctly. Now, Coriolanus is a Roman tragedy that tells an intriguing story of love, commitment, military prowess, betrayal, treason, bravery, and popular uprisings. Now, this story is about it's about a legendary Roman soldier who went by name Gaius Marcius. Now, Gaius Marcius was a genius of a soldier, and he fought within the ranks of Postumus Cominius. Now, Postumus Cominius was a Roman consul who had centurions under his control. And one of these soldiers who fought within these ranks was Gaius Marcius. Now, Gaius Marcius became extremely very popular following the Roman success, the Roman siege of Corioli. Now, Corioli was a Volscian town in the Empire of Volsci, a neighboring town to the Kingdom of Rome. So Rome had besieged this town, like you can see on the board. This campaign, these Roman campaigns, took place in 493. But then, Gaius Marcius was just one of thousands of Roman legions who invaded Corioli. But what made him became very, very popular and prominent is the fact that he showed a lot of valor and bravery. What was this all about? Now, Gaius Marcius found himself at the heart of a campaign, and the Roman legends were doing their stuff, beating down the Volscians. But then he observed that the Volscians had remobilized another front from Antium, their capital, where Altius Tullus Ardiphius, their king, resided. So, within a very short period of time, he was able to mobilize a handful of soldiers, Roman soldiers, and so they attacked the Volscians on the other end, just so they would not cut the entire legion off. Had them well beaten, break through their ranks, burn down houses, and the citizens of Corioli rose up. They cried, they screamed. Now this led to the Volscians. Losing momentum as momentum swung over to the Romans, and so it led to the gradual collapse of their resistance, and so Corioli fell into the hands of the Romans. Now 2 years back, the Roman legions returned back to Rome. Now, when this when the news of this victory got to Rome, the Romans decided to name Gaius Marcius Coriolanus. Now, Coriolanus means victory in Corioli. So, Gaius has been able to create some prominence for himself thanks to his heroic exploits in the campaign on Corioli. But then, there was something that actually struck us about Gaius's temperament, or I would say his attitude or his personality. Gaius Marcius had a thing with the plebeians. Now take note that the Roman society was dissected into two different social classes. We had the plebeians who composed of the multitudes, the masses, the impoverished masses. And on the other hand, we have the patricians. Now the patricians were the nobility. They were made up of members of noble classes. Some of them were appointed consuls, magistrates, and the rest were highly placed, which means that Roman laws were single-handedly made by the patricians. So the plebeians found themselves left out within the reins of power. And so 2 years earlier, 2 years earlier, or a year earlier, that was in 494 BC, the plebeians had revolted and threatened to break away from the Roman Empire, but then the patricians wouldn't have it. Why? This is the thing. Now look at it from this angle. A society is built by the working men. They comprise the carpenters, the farmers, the bricklayers, the blacksmith, the horsemen. Now, a city cannot be built without professionals. And on the other hand, the plebeians also made up the fighting forces. Even though their captains and their generals came from noble families, they made up the cavalry, the foot soldiers. They were the fighting men. They provided the warriors. So the patricians knew this, that should they allow the plebeians withdraw or secede, the entire kingdom will be vulnerable to enemies. And so they will do anything within their powers to get the plebeians in. And so in 494 BC, they had to offer these guys a deal. What was the deal about? Two things stood out crystal clear, or two achievements. Now the first was that the plebeians who found themselves ridden with debts, which they knew were caused by the patricians who did it intentionally to hold them down there, had to ask, they demanded that these debts be taken off. They must be freed from their debts. And so the patricians had no other alternative, other choice than to accept. The second achievement they came away from is that the plebeians decided that they must have representation in the Senate and in the magistrates' court. Now, who were these representatives? These representatives came at the level of, came in the form of, we call them tribunes. Now, tribunes were elected individuals within the ranks of the plebeians who would carry to the Senate the demands and the problems of the plebeians to be debated upon. They also had as prerogatives or functions or responsibilities to protect the interest and the rights of the plebeians in lawmaking, so that those rights would not be infringed upon by the patricians. Now, with that achieved, Coriolanus or Gaius Marcius, he hated the plebeians so much that he would openly criticize, condemn, and lambast them. So it so happened that 2 years following the siege of Corioli, Rome was still recovering from food shortages and famine. But then the food houses or the storehouses still had grains, even though the grain had to be rationed out to the masses, of course, the plebeians. But then the Senate will meet and then try to discuss on how this ration will be done. So Coriolanus or Gaius Marcius, if you will, took an issue with it and would condemn and criticize the plebeians. So he said the plebeians will only have grains if they accept to give away their rights of representation at the Senate. Of course, they will not take it. So the plebeians rose up again, angry, and they called for Gaius Marcius to be put on trial. So the Senate had no other choice. In order to keep the rebellion away from the streets of Rome, they accepted that Gaius Marcius will be tried for speaking against the plebeians and for proposing that their rights of representation be taken away from them. But then the Senate made a statement that the sentence shouldn't be a heavy one. Now, on the day of Gaius Marcius' trial, Gaius wasn't there. Gaius had gone on exile. Where has Gaius Marcius gone to? Gaius Marcius had crossed back into the city of Volci. I don't know what he has gone to do there. Now, Altius Tullus Aufidius was the king of the Volscians. So it is told that Gaius Marcius smuggled himself into Aufidius' palace and had a deal with him. Now he proposed to Aufidius that he has come to build an alliance with Aufidius and to help him exert his revenge on the Romans. And so Aufidius was very much obliged. This is the same military genius who had helped the Romans to take our city. Now imagine him coming back to give us a deal that will help us take our revenge. So Aufidius instantly gave in, and so both men mobilized a military, one of the most powerful militaries that the Volscians had ever raised. And this military camped just 5 miles the outskirts of Rome. Now news of this army, these thousands of legions had gone back to Rome, and the Romans were in a fit of panic. The plebeians knew that Gaius Marcius has come to take his revenge. So what then would they do? Gaius told the Volscians that they should make sure that they target the properties of the plebeians because he had a thing with them. Well, I don't know what it is. So the Romans, the Senate, had met up and delegated emissaries, messengers, ambassadors to try and placate and to dissuade Altius Tullus Aufidius and his close confidante now, who goes by the person of Gaius Marcius, not to invade Rome, but then no reply came. So they dispatched a band of priests with their priestly regalia just so that they could help dissuade the men, that is Gaius Marcius and his new allied, that's Aufidius, not to invade Rome. But of course, it was of no avail. And so the third batch of messengers that was dispatched was quite emotional. So the Senate decided to dispatch Gaius Marcius's wife and mother, Ventura and Volumnia, together with his two sons and the matrons of Rome. Now, matrons of Rome refers to the good women of Rome. So they were the third batch of messengers who actually went up to Gaius Marcius. And so, I don't know what happened. Family is important, isn't it? His emotions got the best of him. It is just impossible that you invade a city that harbors your own family. So Gaius could not actually bring himself to invade Rome, having his own family plead that he stop. So Gaius has to disband his army of Volscians and move away from Rome. Now, Aufidius will not take this lying down. So Aufidius saw this as disloyalty to his personality and his rank as the man in charge of the city or the kingdom of Volci, that is a king. He also saw it as treason, and so he pushed for Gaius Marcius to be tried. Now, Gaius finds himself an enemy of Rome as well as an enemy of the Volscians, but then he has chosen to side with his family. So Gaius was tried, but then even before his sentence was pronounced, the king Altius Tullus Aufidius had Gaius assassinated. So that is a curious story about this Greek legend, Gaius Marcius, who was popularly known as Coriolanus. Now you would find it curious that the story was sourced. Shakespeare sourced this story from different versions or translations of Plutarch's account of the noble lives of Grecians and Romans. Now, Plutarch was a Greek biographer who wrote quite a lot about great Roman and Greek figures. So he had written quite a lot about Gaius Marcius. There are also accounts of Livy. Livy too was a historian and a biography. So Shakespeare got inspired by this material written by these great men to actually shape Coriolanus as a play. So that is the historical background or perspective of Coriolanus. Now I want to say that in our very next episode of this series, we are going to go straight into it, delve straight into the core of Shakespeare's Coriolanus, try to see what the storyline itself is. That is a summary, and then we'll look at the cast or the actors and actresses before we get into the play proper. So if it's your first time coming online, or your first time coming on board, I want to do three things for me. You call it LSS. L for like, S for subscribe, and the other S for share. You don't have to be greedy now. So keep the rendezvous and make sure you subscribe just so you can have access to subsequent videos on this platform. I intend to take it to another level altogether. So see you then.